This video offers an insight into the research project Institutional Parameters, Academic-Vocational Self-Concept and Perceived Study Success, an international comparative study of work-based learning programs in higher education, here referred to as hybrid study programs. The project INT-Hybrid is funded by the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research. The project lead is Professor Dina Collet from the Department of Business Education at the Otto von Guericke University in Magdeburg. Our research partners are in Germany, the Federal Institute for Vocational Education and Training, the University of Applied Labour Studies and the Rhineland-Palatinate Cooperative State University. In England, the Edge Foundation London, and in Austria, the institution 3S Research and Consulting. In the following, we will give an overview of the research interests of the project, the research design, underlying research questions and research aims. Due to political demand in Germany for greater permeability between the higher education sector and the vocational training sector, the readjustment of the relationship between vocational and higher education is increasingly under discussion. In recent years, education policy has therefore focused much more on hybrid training and study programs, such as the so-called integrated degree program. This is not least because the demand for these programs has increased significantly in recent years. The expectations of students within integrated degree programs is that they simultaneously develop the ability to work in the vocational field and to develop academic knowledge structures. The aim is to achieve this through the synchronous and integrated duality of vocational experience and academic learning processes within the relevant study programs. In this context, the so-called vocational academic type of education is being discussed in Germany. It is this type of education which requires the development of an academic vocational self-concept that facilitates synchronous and balanced integration into both the academic community and vocational practice. The expected transfer of knowledge from the academic field to the vocational field and vice versa represents a significant challenge for students. This is particularly difficult with regard to study programs with less supportive designs. The increasing interconnections between vocational and higher education are also being discussed in a wider international context, due to increasing efforts in terms of the development of hybrid study programs. In September 2015, England, for instance, introduced the work-based learning program known as Degree Apprenticeship, which has notable parallels to integrated degree programs in Germany. Integrated degree programs with an explicit resemblance to the German design have also been introduced in Austria and further expanded since 2011. Therefore, the question arises as to how effective these programs based on vocational and higher educational elements are, especially from an international comparative perspective. The research project focuses on student study success, on specific providers, meaning universities and companies' objectives, and on educational policy intentions connected to the introduction of these programs. Within the project framework, various aspects at the macro, meso, and micro levels will be analyzed. At the macro level, INT-Hybrid explores educational and political aspects. Of particular interest at this stage is identifying commonalities and differences throughout Germany, England, and Austria concerning educational and political intentions connected to these study programs. With regard to the meso level, institutional issues will be addressed. This involves a focus on identifying underlying aims and institutional design features when it comes to new approaches and the implementation of hybrid study programs on the part of higher education institutions and companies as the central providers. This includes the illustration of commonalities and differences, particularly with regard to higher education and vocational study components in international comparison. Alongside these aspects, the project's central aim is to analyze students' learning behavior and study success at the micro level. Students' academic vocational self-concept, their individual learning approaches and their time investment with regard to different components of their study program will be taken into account. The project will illustrate for all three countries whether the actors' aims and intentions at the macro and meso level can be considered compatible with students' learning behavior and perceived study success. This means revealing whether a reasonable fit can be observed between the intended aims from the political and provider perspectives and students' perceived study success. The project also focuses on the extent to which specific design features of those programs facilitate this fit. As there are key common study design features, there will be reference to integrated degree programs in Germany and Austria and to degree apprenticeships in the fields of business and administration as well as engineering science in England. The research follows a mixed method approach including interview studies, web-based surveys and a web-based diary study. For this purpose, data will be collected from political and institutional actors, from tertiary institutions and companies offering hybrid study programs, and students. The research works with organizational as well as psychological theories and approaches in order to portray study success. The research design follows the case study approach that refers to the countries on the one hand and the institutions on the other. Taking the research results into account, the aim is to elaborate and transfer recommendations to the institutional providers involved concerning the design features of hybrid study programs to systematically facilitate study success. The macro, meso, and micro-level data provide insights into educational and political intentions in international comparison regarding implementing hybrid study programs, the institutional implementations in higher education institutions and companies, how students use such programs, and their study success.